In 2019, Apple unveiled a product that triggered an immediate wave of online mockery, not because of what it was, but what it cost. It was a simple piece of machined aluminum with a hinge, designed to hold up a separate display. The price? $999. The figure seemed even more lopsided because of what was missing. For nearly $1,000, you didn't even get the actual monitor. Headlines called the pricing absurd. Comedians used it as a punchline. But despite the public outcry, the stand completely sold out. This reaction contradicts standard economic theory. Usually, as a product becomes more expensive, the pool of willing buyers shrinks. Apple's business model often reverses this trend. In this high-end segment, the high price tag functions as a feature, causing demand to rise alongside the cost. The success of a $1,000 stand proves that Apple is no longer just selling hardware utility, it is selling the exclusivity that a high price provides. To see how deep this pricing strategy goes, we have to look inside the products. Every year, independent analysts disassemble the flagship iPhone to estimate the cost of its parts. This chart compares the bill of materials to the final retail price. The screen, processor, and cameras cost roughly $500. The phone itself retails for over $1,200. While that gap covers research, software development, and retail stores, Apple's profit margins remain significantly higher than almost any other hardware manufacturer. Most consumers would be outraged by this level of markup in other industries, yet iPhone users rarely push back against the $1,200 starting price. This behavior is explained by a concept identified in the late 1800s by Thorstein Veblen. He studied products where the value is derived from the price itself. These Veblen goods are desirable because they are expensive. The high cost signals a level of status that a cheaper, functional equivalent cannot provide. Apple has successfully applied this to mass-market electronics. If the price of an iPhone dropped to $300, it would likely lose its appeal as a social marker. Beyond just pricing, the company actively maintains its market position through social engineering, specifically the color of a text message bubble. When an iPhone user texts an Android device, the bubble turns green. This change breaks group chats, lowers video quality, and visually marks the recipient as an outsider. Among younger demographics, this creates a measurable social friction. Numerous reports have documented students facing embarrassment or exclusion from their social circles simply because they don't own an iPhone. This social pressure is reinforced by hardware limitations. An Apple Watch, for example, pairs fully only with an iPhone, creating a closed loop. This walled garden is maintained by products like AirTags and features like AirDrop. They work flawlessly within the Apple network, but offer a degraded experience to anyone who tries to leave. These are hundreds of tiny, intentional frictions that collectively make leaving the network feel entirely like losing a social connection. By combining Veblen pricing with social engineering, Apple has built a system where the device is both a status symbol and a requirement for social inclusion. This functions as a sophisticated luxury ecosystem. It ensures that the emotional cost of leaving the wall remains much higher than the financial cost of buying the next upgrade. But status and social pressure only explain why someone buys in once. They don't explain why millions spend another $1,000 every year on a new device, only slightly better than the one they already own. There is a deeper mechanism at work here, one that turns a single hardware purchase into a permanent financial relationship that profits off the user every single day. To maintain growth, the company relies on a mechanism to ensure that older devices eventually feel obsolete. This line graph maps processor performance over time, illustrating a pivotal moment in 2017. Independent researchers caught Apple deliberately throttling the processing power of older iPhones, a drop that correlated directly with new iOS updates. The scandal, known as Batterygate, sparked global lawsuits. Apple eventually admitted to the throttling, claiming it was to prevent unexpected shutdowns on aging batteries, and paid out hundreds of millions of dollars in settlements. The incident exposed how software updates can act as a quiet lever. They're capable of making perfectly functional hardware feel sluggish and outdated long before it physically breaks. The walled garden uses this software friction to nudge users toward the next upgrade, ensuring they continue spending to maintain a functional experience. This constant hardware cycle leads to the true financial endgame, one that appears quietly every month on a credit card statement. Over the last decade, Apple's center of gravity shifted toward subscription services. iCloud storage, Apple Music, and Apple TV have become central to the business model, alongside the commissions collected on nearly every digital purchase made in the App Store. This comparative bar chart reveals the logic of that shift. While hardware sales carry significant overhead, Apple's services division generates over $109 billion in annual revenue at gross margins above 70%. It raises a final question. Are you choosing your next phone, or is leaving simply a wall you've decided isn't worth climbing?